High school educators today face more options than ever when it comes to preparing students for college, AP, IB, dual credit, dual enrollment. Each program promises to build college-ready skills and a way to save families money. But how do we know what paths truly give students a leg up? How can schools and districts offer programs that actually prepare students for success while supporting their families? Today, we're breaking it all down in AP versus IB versus dual credit, what actually helps students in college. Our wonderful producer, Megan, is here. And Megan, I've got lots of HSOs today. You know what an HSO is?
No, please tell me.
You're going to love it. Hot sports opinions.
I thought you were going to say soccer. I was like, does that have something to do with soccer? Because I'm so tired of listening to soccer all the time.
It's hot sports opinions. I know how much you love sports. So I'm going to be giving lots and lots of HSOs, hot sports opinions about AP,
yay.
IB, and all that stuff. So get excited.
How does that even tie in? I guess I'll find out.
You'll find out. So first off, folks, we're talking about some programs in their general way. So please don't be yelling at your car or wanting to throw something at me. You know, I'm not talking about your specific region or your specific state where you do credit this way and you do IB this way. We're going to do generalizations here because obviously these programs are implemented and started and monitored different ways. So I've got to use generalizations. Ultimately, though, I'm going to give you just a really nice overview of all of them. And we're going to give you some pros. We're going to give you some cons. We're just going to explore, you know, and this is great for school districts when they're trying to think about what advanced, academic programs they want to add. This is great for parents. If you're a parent and you're listening and you're going, hey, what does my high school student need to pick? An AP program, IB, dual credit stuff, a combination of all these things. So hopefully it helps out that. And then if you're a teacher and you're just kind of wondering about these programs, maybe you're an AP teacher and you've always wondered about IB, it gives you an opportunity to not only listen to my HSOs, but to form your own hot sports opinions, and you guys can kind of decide. So just want to remind you, if you like what you hear, please subscribe. We'd love to have you subscribe. That way you're going to hear about the next episode. It'll be all queued up for you and you'll be able to listen. We like comments. We like suggestions. We like feedback, all that good stuff. So if you like what you listen to, please let us know. All right, so let's talk about IB, International Baccalaureate.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, that's what that acronym means.
Yes.
We love us some acronyms in education. We're going to be talking about the diploma program. So International Baccalaureate, that's a big thing. It actually impacts kids, not just in high school, but younger age. We're not going to worry about all that. We're just going to talk about the diploma program, so just for high school students. It is a global curriculum.
Okay.
So a global curriculum. And it is really meant to, provide this wonderful global foundation for students. It gives them all kinds of skills for both college and really career, professional, all that stuff. It is rigorous. And we'll talk a lot about that rigor here in a little bit. And it's a set program. Starts really your junior year, goes to your senior year. And then there are some big old high stakes exams at the end. And it's not just written exams. They are oral exams. You got to give a presentation and you also have to do a whole lot of writing. And it really emphasizes writing, it emphasizes problem solving, that sort of thing.
When you say global, like how do you mean?
So for example, there's a language component to it.
Okay.
So, you've got to take and focus on a foreign language.
Okay.
It talks a lot about international type of issues. It's not like very U.S. centered. And it's because it came from a global perspective. It didn't come just from the United States.
Okay.
It actually came from outside the United States. 119,000 kids participate in IB in the country. So you think about 119,000 kids, it sounds like a lot, but it's really not proportionally. And so it's a very exclusive program. It's not just open enrollment. There are some prerequisites for it. Not just any kid can jump into IB. There is a cost to it, about $700 to $800 per course, that's, either school takes care of those fees or students take care of those fees, a combination of, per course. I mean, it's expensive. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it can be expensive. And that's certainly something to kind of consider. Let's talk about the pros though, because there are some amazing pros. I am a big IB fan. I feel like it's a really great program. If I am an admissions counselor, specifically at a tough to get into school, your Ivy League schools, any of those top tier universities, and I see a student application and that student has an IB diploma, and I see another application and they've got a bunch of dual enrollment or AP courses, I am immediately going to be really happy with that IB student for this reason, because I know the rigor of that program, and I also can pretty much understand what that student has gone through easier than I can maybe with the dual enrollment student, and even probably with the AP student. AP is great. We'll talk about the great things about it, but that IB is really rigorous. Doesn't mean that IB student has a 100% leg up with the other two students, but it's just easier for admission counselors because they really understand at those top tier universities what IB looks like. So,
can you do IB and AP at the
absolutely.
same school at the same time?
I don't recommend it, and it's very, very rare. But you can, in theory, do an AP course or courses, or take those exams on top of IB. Typically, though, you don't. You just take IB. You don't take dual credit. You don't take AP. You are just focused on IB. That's how rigorous the particular program is. It's also great because it's standardized. So if I'm an IB teacher, I've been certified, I teach in Virginia, I've got a set curriculum, I've been trained, all that good stuff. And my class is, the course I teach is gonna look very similar to, in California, an IB class. And that standardization is really important. And it's something that parents, schools, students should look for, a really good standardization like that, because they know the rigor is gonna be there, across the board. In terms of college credit, there's absolutely college credit there. If you successfully complete an IB diploma, you're going to get some college credit. I can't say how much because it really depends on the university. That is a super difficult question to say, well, what do I get here and what do I get here? It just depends.
Okay, can you tell me what the courses are in IB? Because I'm kind of confused. Like, is there like a math course? Is it just
all the above?
Is it
math courses, history courses, language courses, English courses, science courses? It's the whole gambit. And you don't, and you that's a set thing. You can't go, well, you know what? I don't like foreign languages.
Oh.
You got to take them.
No matter what.
Like for me, oh, mercy. I was born in Germany. My dad was in the Army. And I was like, in high school, I'm taking German. That didn't go well for me. I don't have an aptitude for languages.
It's hard.
So if you want to go into IB program and you're just not good at foreign languages, or you just don't feel like you're good in foreign languages, it's probably not a great thing for you to pursue.
So if you're not well-rounded, this is probably not a good idea for you.
That's perfect way to say it. If you're not well-rounded and you're not very academically driven, so good segue. Let's talk about the cons. So cons of it is I say work-life balance because I'm currently working. It's student life balance. If you are a big-time college athlete, or if you are doing a million different things in the fine arts department, it's going to be tough to juggle an IB schedule. It is really, really hard to juggle a lot of school activities or even outside school activities in IB. Students can do it, but it is tough. And the IB students that I've worked with and seen and talked to, man, they are school all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's sometimes fantastic. I mean, they signed up for that and they're passionate about their studies, and that works out well. But it is a con there, is that balance thing. The exam thing is another thing. The cost is another thing. The fact that you don't start IB until your junior year, the fact that it's a set courses, those are some cons. So as incredible as a program at IB is, there are some cons. So,
what about the exams? Are they as hard as the AP exams? Are they?
I would say they're more comprehensive.
Okay.
In the amount of time students take to prepare for them is more extensive. But remember, you're taking AP exams your 9th grade year, your 10th grade year, your 11th grade year, your 12th grade year. You're kind of continuously taking those. Whereas IB, it works a little differently. So.
And you have less time to master it too, because you only take it your junior and senior year.
Well, you've got more time to learn the content, but a more rigorous way to be assessed through the content. So it's just a really different thing. People want to say IB and AP are the same. They're just not. I would say AP and dual credit has some similarities, but not IB.
Why do you think like the Ivy League schools really?
Just because of the rigor involved. I'll give you an example. The writing component and the presentation component involved in IB is, I think Ivy League schools look at that and they know they can predict the student is going to be successful, in rigorous coursework, doing big presentations, preparing for things, that sort of thing. So, all right, AP. Let's talk about advanced placement. First of all, you guys know the College Board, nonprofit, air quotes, nonprofit. The College Board is the one behind AP courses. They're also the ones behind the SAT. So the SAT exam and all the AP courses. In terms of numbers of folks taking AP courses, I'll tell you how many took AP tests last year. 6.2 million students 6.2 million AP tests were taken last year.
Wow.
That is an extraordinary number of tests. Some students took 6, some students took 1, and everything in between. So 6.2 million exams were taken. And that's the first big thing. It is a course followed by an exam that you have got to pass. So you can get an A in your AP stats class all year long. If you don't take that AP exam, you're not technically getting college credit for that course. You've got to be successful on that AP exam. Typically, 3, 4, or 5 is what you need on the exam. Some schools don't accept a 3. Some schools want a 4. Some schools want a 5. Some schools, just like IB, some schools say, we love that you took AP. We love that you took IB. That got you into the school. But guess what? We're not going to give you college credit. You're going to have to take all these classes.
Actually, I have a question about the college credit. Like, how does that work? Like, so if you take, AP Lang, does that count for like freshman English? Like, how does it?
It all depends. It all depends. So it can. A lot of times, what you'll see is AP Lang is a junior level course. AP Language, AP Literature is a senior level course. So that might take a year, or it might take 2 semesters of college. It just depends. But AP is the most widely accepted college credit program.
Okay.
So you are much more likely to get college credit, and we'll say that's definitely one of the pros of AP is there's a very, very good chance the university is going to accept that credit, specifically if you score 3, 4, or 5. There are a million different, I think there's 40 plus AP courses. There's so many. And it's a la carte. So not like IB, where here's what you're taking. You've got students, and what's really cool, if you're a student who just loves social studies, well, you're going to focus on just taking your AP social studies courses. You're going to start maybe with AP Human as a freshman. So you can take it as early as your freshman year, maybe world history or human geography. And then you can continue based on how things are going to take more or less AP courses. Big year to take AP courses is your junior year. You're trying to get into college. You want to make your application look fantastic. You're going to take a bunch of AP courses. You'll still take maybe a few your senior year, but a lot of seniors like to back off the gas a little bit their senior year. I live with one of those. But a la carte for AP is a big time pro, and the fact that you can start early and the fact you got tons of options. More pros for a school, for a district, it's easy to start an AP program. Find a teacher who is excited about teaching it. Get that teacher to submit their syllabus to College Board. It's a pretty easy thing to start. Unlike IB, which it's a process. It's the programs I'm going to talk about. AP is the easiest one to start. In terms of open enrollment, most, not all, but most schools allow open enrollment to AP, which is really great for students. Because I have seen this, as a former principal, I saw the student who just decided they just did not want to try hard in school. Mm-hmm. And then they suddenly got really fascinated with environmental science. They love nature. They love those trees. And they just decided, man, I want to save the world. I want to take environmental science. And they jump into this AP class and they do amazing. And that's what AP gives you an opportunity to do. And then that AP class might turn that kid on to college. And then the student starts taking more AP courses. The next thing you know, that student goes, guess what? I'm actually a really smart, intelligent, hardworking kid. I just kind of needed that inspiration and that push. One thing I absolutely left off, another value of AP, because I'm thinking about the whole standardization thing, is instructional resources are critical. If you're going to bring a program in, you better make sure you can support that program. And something like dual credit instructional resources, you're not going to be able to support with your own instructional resources as a district or a campus, because that teacher is going to bring in whatever they build and design. So it's very much on that teacher. IB, yeah, you've got a very, very strong criteria, qualification stuff to get teachers IB qualified. But in terms of instructional resources, the very, very best would be AP. So if you want to bring in a program and make sure you can offer great instructional resources, and two I'll name, AP Classroom, which College Board provides for free at no cost, offers a lot of great things. And then UWorld, our podcast sponsor, we offer incredible instructional resources that are standardized that you know are going to be great. The other two programs, they're lacking of that. So that's another thing I want to kind of add on there. Every day, educators work tirelessly to keep high school students motivated. But despite their best efforts, too many students still feel lost in a system that doesn't always support their success. At UWorld, we believe education is about unlocking a future full of possibilities. That's why our team of educators created teaching and learning tools for the advanced placement exams. Powerful, easy-to-use resources that help students master even the most challenging concepts. Content that features dynamic visuals created by world-class artists and interactive elements that spark curiosity and a love for learning. Our mission is to help every student reach their full potential. Whether that means earning valuable college credit by excelling on AP exams or achieving their dream SAT score, UWorld is here every step of the way. Every day, across the country, students are using UWorld to turn their aspirations into reality. Discover how UWorld can help your students succeed. Visit collegereadiness.uworld.com to learn more. So those are the pros of AP. Cons, man, I'm going to give this a student con. The exam. Students do not like the fact there is a high stakes exam at the end of an AP course. I mean, they will complain till the cows come home about, oh my gosh, I got to take this exam. Man, I don't want to take AP, but I got to take this big exam. It's a con, but here's the deal. If there's a high stakes exam that I've got to prepare for and I'm successful in that, what does that do for my confidence? Skyrockets. What does that do for my ability to, set a schedule and study, and my ability to get over test anxiety? So there's all these amazing things that exam does for you. And I tell my former students this, I tell my children this, they are sick of hearing me say it. Doing the right thing is often the hardest thing.
Yep.
So taking an exam, a hard thing, you don't want to do it. It's to you, it's the wrong thing, but it typically is the right thing to do if it's hard. And so productive struggle, all that good stuff. So I'm going to say it's a student con, but it's a teacher, parent, everybody else pro. There's a big exam at stake there. And AP exams cost money, and that's another con.
They do. They
do cost money. Now, some districts are awesome. Some school districts, specifically Title I school districts, are just districts that really value AP exams. They will pay for the exam completely. They will say, hey, listen, student, you're committed to your studies. You're committed to this course. We're gonna take care of that $90-something for your exam.
It's $90. Oh gosh.
Other school districts say, we'll pay half. So there's things like that. But there is that cost, and that cost has got to be figured out some way. There's also waivers that students can fill out. So if your parents, are at a certain income level, student can submit a waiver.
Okay.
And it reduces the cost. So there's ways to cover those costs, but cost of the exam is something, and it is something that needs to be considered, and it's important, to factor that piece in. All right, dual credit, dual enrollment. I'm going to talk about dual credit and dual enrollment the same way. They're not exactly the same thing. There's subtle differences. We're not even going to go into it, but we're just going to call it dual credit for right now. It's tough for data. I looked a lot for data because I wanted to see dual credit has increased in size. And About 2.8 million students are participating in dual credit, and that number has increased some. But this kind of goes to dual credit. It's the wild, wild west in some ways, because every district has a relationship with a junior college or a college, and they're handling dual credit, dual enrollment differently. You don't get numbers like College Board. They can easily give you numbers. These are the number of kids that signed up for AP courses. These are the number of teachers that are registered. It's the Wild West because you can't get the data. And it's also the Wild West because they handle it differently everywhere. Okay? So, but the way the course works is you take the course and you pass the course, and there's your credit.
So is this more like schools just doing it on their own, or is there like a company that manages it?
They're
like
definitely not a company, but
there's
there's definitely a college partnership there. And you've got to establish that college partnership.
And then you decide on your own, like what's going to happen. Like there's nobody guiding.
You would work with that particular college, and there's a lot in there, and I'm glad you're kind of bringing it up. We'll go through the pros and cons and stuff. Pros, there's not an exam. So for students, they're like, yay, I just passed the course, I'm good to go. In terms of another pro is it gives you kind of a college experience, because you may have a situation where this is a professor who teaches a college course, and they're giving you an opportunity to kind of experience what having a college professor is like. And that's kind of a unique thing. As far as cons are concerned, it really is juniors on up. That's something that happens. You've got to make sure you establish those partnerships. You've got to read the fine print, because you'll get dual credit and you go, oh my gosh, this works anywhere. Nope, it just works on this university and that university, or it only works in this particular state schools.
Oh.
So it's of the three that we're talking about, IB, AP, and dual credit, those credits are the least likely to transfer to college.
Good to know.
Probably easiest to get, but least likely to transfer. Okay. So that's one of those things to kind of factor in. I'd say another con is, I don't want to tell you the rigor isn't as rigorous as AP. It's definitely not as rigorous as IB, but the rigor oftentimes is not at the level of AP because of this, there's lack of standardization there. It's not a standardized course. So it's Wild West again. And then I'll tell you another really pro, though. I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. For some students in high school, they've run out of high school courses to take. They've run out of them. Maybe that school doesn't offer AP, and they've got to go to the community college to take something. Or there's a really cool dual credit elective that they're just super stoked to take, and they can take it through dual credit because it's not offered at their high school. So in certain instances, it's an amazing add-on. It's a really cool extra thing, for students to do. So that's pros and cons. Went through the three programs. Let's get into my hot sports opinions here. I would say for any school district, for any school, don't just start grabbing these programs and kicking them off before you do this. You need to go, what problem am I trying to solve?
Yes.
And I'll give you an example of that. If you're a school and you're trying to allow your students to enter in college and be the most competitive they can, your student body is going to top tier universities, or a good percentage of them are, and that is what you're trying to solve. You're trying to make their applications or college applications super appealing to admissions offices. IB might be the way to go. So you got to figure out what problem you're trying to solve. If you're trying to increase rigor in your school, on your campus, in the most efficient, easy way to do it, AP is the way to go. So I don't want to say do this program, do that program without starting with that caveat of figure out what problem you were trying to solve, put the leadership team together, et cetera. The next thing you better do is you better reflect on your teacher capacity and your student capacity. Because bringing in certain programs with a specific student body either make a whole lot of sense or not a lot of sense. If you've got a student body that is really heading to a lot of local colleges, in fact, you look at your data and a bunch of them are heading to such and such college right down the street, man, get that dual credit going and get those accreditations rolling and let's go. If you're looking at, wanting to offer a bunch of different courses in terms of your teachers have all kinds of capacity and your students have all kinds of interest, AP is the way to go. I mean, you gotta look at the needs of your students and the needs of your teachers and kind of, determine things. So what problem you're trying to solve, and in terms of, reflecting on your student teacher capacity, that's huge. Now comes my opinions. I don't understand why every school doesn't go ahead and offer AP. Mm-hmm. It is kind of, when you're looking at advanced curriculums and you're looking at college ready, it's like deciding not to take a school day SAT. Why would you not take a school day SAT?
So why don't they?
It's a good question. It's a good question why a campus or a school wouldn't. It might be because they're struggling to maybe recruit teachers that can teach those courses. And my thing is expand your search, or train them in-house, or send them to APSIs. Advanced Placement Summer Institutes, APSI. I mean, send them out to places to get trained and go ahead and offer AP. Go ahead and bring that to your campus. And then once you've got this really robust, fantastic AP program, then you can start looking at going, hey, I also want to add a little bit of dual credit here. Mm-hmm. Dual credit's going to add some other options for my students. These are some really great options for them. I'm going to go ahead and bring in some dual credit. Do
people ever do dual credit with AP? Do they ever do
Absolutely.
that combo? No?
That is super, super common. I have knew many students on my particular campus that decided, and I'll tell you why here in a second, decided to take certain AP courses and maybe this dual credit course over here. Some of it was the courses offered. Others was, I know who that AP teacher is. She taught my older brother and she's fantastic. I'm taking her. So you've also got that where the student kind of factors in, I want that teacher because that teacher taught me AP chemistry and he also teaches AP bio and I loved him from chemistry, so now I'm going to take bio. And so you've got some of that stuff working. But you do get a combination of dual credit and AP quite commonly. Depends on, especially if your high school's big. You got a big old giant high school. I've seen big old giant high schools offer all three programs. IB for this wonderful, group of students who can handle that rigor and that out of this world, curriculum, global curriculum, and then this big, huge group of AP students, and then also throwing in some dual credit there too. So I've seen that as well.
So if you're not a top performing student, I think you're going to say AP, but what would you recommend?
I would say, and if you're not a top performing student, maybe you just weren't given the opportunity to be a top performing student.
Right, agreed.
I'm a big growth mindset person. As big of a growth mindset person as I am, I can say some students, I don't care how big your growth mindset is, you're not going to be successful in IB. But if you've got that growth mindset, I would say an AP, or a dual credit course or courses is something, good for you. The challenge is you really want to start challenging yourself as early as possible in high school. And you can take an AP class as early as your freshman or sophomore year. Whereas dual credit, you might have to wait. And by the time you get to your junior year, it's harder.
Do you think that not having to take an exam for dual credit, is that actually a con rather than a pro?
I think for students, it is. I think for students, test anxiety is a real thing. Tests, exams make them nervous. I think we've, done a disservice as educators and society and not pushing students. We've got the snowplow parents, we've got the helicopter parents, we've got all that business of, I don't want my baby not to be successful on an exam. The flip side is they got to overcome test anxiety. If you don't overcome test anxiety, you're doing a disservice for yourself because guess what? They're going to be in a career or maybe have to take a certification test. Is that student ever going to, if he wants to be a lawyer, he's got to take the bar exam.
Right.
So I think that yes, it is something that's kept students from taking AP. And I think that's at the detriment of that student. And that's where the adult, the parent, the teacher, the counselor, the administrator needs to step in and say, hey, you're going to be fine. If you got great AP teachers, you're going to get prepared for those exams. And worst case scenario, you're not successful on your AP Human Geo exam. Guess what? You don't need to let the college know what you scored on that AP exam. You control that. I can take an SAT and not send my scores to a college. I can take an AP exam and not send my scores to a college.
So would you say that AP prepares students better for college than dual credit, even though they're actually in a college because they don't have to take those exams and AP you do?
Yeah, so I would say yes, and the data tells us that. I mean, we don't have data, universal data that's I think really academic strong for dual credit. But man, we've got a ton of data because of course the College Board loves to publish this data because it makes them look good, but it is good data, and that data says if you're successful in AP class, you're more likely to have a higher GPA in college. You're more successful in college as far as getting a diploma. You're better at navigating high stakes exams. There's actually a ton of data points saying if you don't take AP, this is the outcome. If you do take AP, this is the outcome. The data doesn't lie, and it definitely benefits students in college.
Okay, so if the College Board is free for AP, why would a school purchase something like UWorld?
Okay. Yeah. So very good question. So any great instructional resource, you're using UWorld for this example, is going to provide teachers with the opportunity to spend more time with students and teachers to be able to do the things they need to do to make students successful rather than the hours and hours and hours it takes to build great instructional material. It also works like this. Great instructional material helps feed the ideas of that particular teacher. As a teacher, you close that door and it's you. And yeah, you might have a team, but a lot of times AP teachers don't have a team. You're the one AP calculus teacher on campus. And so if you've got a wonderful resource like UWorld, you've got access to material that nobody else is going to give you or provide you. And that's worth some investment, I think.
Can you tell me what a poorly implemented AP, IB, or dual credit program looks like?
Sure. I would tell you that IB has so many safeguards that, if you get your school qualified to offer IB, you're probably, doing fantastic. The only thing that's going to mess you up is if you got this wonderful IB teacher or this collection of IB teachers and they leave. And teacher turnover is a big thing now. So you can go from highly qualified, offering this amazing IB program to you're dead in the water because you're missing a component of IB because you don't have the teacher. But in terms of if you go through the certification process, I feel very confident that IB program is going to be fantastic. Dual credit, that's where the challenge is because they don't have to turn in their syllabus to anybody. They don't have to provide exam scores, to show, hey, my wonderful, work with students paid off in this particular way. Not saying there's not incredible dual credit teachers out there. If one's listening right now, I want you to know you're incredible. You're doing great work.
All teachers are incredible.
All teachers are incredible. But in terms of AP, you do have that exam score. You do have those scores to really take a lot of pride in as a teacher. And to say, hey, look, here's how successful my students were, and I had a part in that. Mm-hmm. I helped my students prepare and be a part of that. So you got to monitor all these programs, but there's a lot that can go wrong with dual credit. Definitely, there's things that can go wrong with IB. And in terms of AP, same thing. If you've got a fantastic AP teacher and they leave, you better get another one. It's just much easier to get another one. Mm-hmm. So,
got it. I think that's all I got.
Okay, awesome. Folks, I hope you enjoyed today. I hope you learned one or two things or found a couple things interesting. If you have some big challenges to anything I said today, hey man, let me know. Let's hear from you. And if you've got great topics, we're kind of mulling over a couple really cool topics coming up on future podcasts.
For season 3.
Yeah, season 3 is coming at you. But, hopefully you enjoyed what you heard today. Thanks for checking us out. Remember, life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. And other than that, thanks for joining. Take care, everybody. The opinions expressed by our guests and hosts are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views from Classroom to Campus, UWorld, or its affiliates. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please remember to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating that really helps us out. Thank you so much.